change your story, change your life. So yesterday, our foundation was to kind of connect, kind of give you a picture of what this is about. Understand that it's all patterns, right? It's a pattern of thinking. It's a pattern of emotion. It's a pattern of focus. And if we change our pattern, everything changes. If we change it a little, we get a little change. But if we make a radical change and we consistently make that change, our whole life changes. And so you're going to have to remind yourself of your new story. It's not just something you do once. It's like you got to keep going. This is what's true. Because there's an old phrase, if you tell a lie big enough, loud enough, and long enough, sooner or later people believe you. Who said that? Hitler. That was his strategy. But most of us are Hitler to ourselves. We tell ourselves a lie where we beat ourselves up, which lowers our energy. And when your energy lowers, you do not get the insights, the truths, your beauty and your strength and your emotion that really doesn't serve you. It drops you. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where, you lose momentum. You can get negative momentum where things get worse and worse and worse. So yesterday was really about seeing if we can help you to understand how to break that, start to recognize patterns, use new patterns, create new patterns. That's really what this week is about. And also it's kind of showing you how breakthroughs happen. I hope you got it in your body, right? We talked about strategy, story, state. That's the sequence most people do. And the tyranny of how. We don't want to start with how. We don't want to start with strategy because the real problem usually is the story. That's the glue. But we'll break that glue up as the right state. And that's why I really appreciate you guys, even though you're home jumping and screaming, making noise and doing these things, because it's not about rah-rah BS. It's about awakening your nervous system. That's the only way you can reprogram it. Nothing changes, nothing moves, especially something that feels immovable like a problem, without a lot more energy. It takes energy to create what you really want. And that energy, sometimes the mind gets in the way of that energy, and sometimes it's the body if we don't take care of it. But either one can be overcome. As we said, it doesn't matter how much sleep you've had, how much food you've had, right? You can demand it. And if you keep demanding it, you'll develop that habit. Same reason why I jumped in the water, right? First thing this morning as always, right? It's like I say, this is what we're going to do. My brain doesn't argue anymore. It knows when I say we're doing it, we do it now. There's no hesitancy. So it's all about creating some simple new habits. But I think you got really a good sense of the power of story yesterday. And how many enjoyed finding those different parts of yourself, right? The warrior, the lover, the magician. I got some good value out of that too. Good, good, good. My focus today is give you 3 pieces of content, 3 tools, 3 insights that can change everything without exaggeration. And each day we'll start stacking. So today I want to share with you the fundamental principle that controls all of your behavior, controls a great deal of your emotion. You say, isn't that story? Yes, but there's a specific story or kind of story. Think of it this way. Beliefs, and by the way, I hope you're taking some notes. I see many of you doing it. Remember, if you just sit passively and hear me, studies show, and I don't know if you believe them or not, different studies show you'll remember about 10% a month from now. If you listen and you take down some notes, even if you don't read them, it goes 50, 60%. If you listen, take notes, and you're physically active, use your voice, use your body, etc., jumps to 90, 95%. I want to make sure you get the most out of it. Write down this little phrase to start with. So we'll use this as the frame of reference, because what does a story and what I'm going to talk to you have in common? They're beliefs. So write down beliefs create and beliefs destroy. Certain beliefs will create the quality of life you want. Certain beliefs will destroy the quality of your life. When you were listening, when I was describing these stories of Natalie and I think it was John, right? Both of them developed a set of beliefs that then controlled what they focused on. It controlled their emotion. It controlled what they were doing and experiencing. But just a quick change, and by the way, one of the ways you change a belief is you question it. See, if you question something enough, you'll feel uncertain. It doesn't matter what it is. Now, if someone comes to you and says, John here, you think he's your friend, but he's talking behind your back and he's doing this and doing that. And you go, no, that's not possible. John's my friend. When you say John's my friend, you're saying I have a belief about who John is in my life. My John would never do that with me. But if 4 people tell you this, you might start to go, wow, is John really trying to screw me over here? And in that moment, it produces doubt. If you question anything enough, it produces doubt. And many of you, the very number one thing that's keeping you from what you really want to achieve, when I was working with some of the VIP questions yesterday, is like people constantly questioning themselves. Now, don't get me wrong, it's useful to question yourself, but not all the time. It's like save it up for Friday and question everything at 2:00. But if you keep questioning yourself, you produce doubt. And doubt makes you uncertain, means you don't believe. And when you're uncertain, you don't do squat. And if you start with how to do this, the strategy, and you've never done it before, you pretty much put yourself in a place of doubt. That's why we want to start with a right state, a state of certainty and energy, the right empowering story, and then we can figure out the right strategy. But our beliefs, they control everything. And remember, we want to fulfill our beliefs. That's why when I said, look for brown in the room, you saw beige stuff and called it brown just so you could feel more successful. Or when I said what was red, you called burgundy red to feel successful. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So there are many different types of beliefs. And I'm not going to try and walk you through all these in this short little session, but just to give you a picture, you have some beliefs about what you value most, like what's most important to you and what's least important to you. And those beliefs about what you value, and they're beliefs. What you value is a belief, and it shapes your life. If you value security the most, you're going to behave radically differently than if you value adventure or making a difference or love, right? So each of us have different beliefs and they control us. And so one of the beliefs I want to talk about today is one of the most powerful beliefs of all. In fact, if you're going to have lasting change, please hear me now. Who here has made a change and went right back and got pissed off at yourself? Made a change. Who's done this multiple times? Make some noise if you've done this, right? You know, I know a person said, I've lost 150 pounds, 10 pounds 15 times and gone right back again, right? So it's like, or someone will say to me, I'm on day 7 of not smoking a cigarette. And I always go, why are you counting? So you can tell people how long you last this time when you go back? There is a way to get lasting change. And that's what we all really want. And the only way I know is to understand the principle of identity. Identity. What the hell is identity? Please write this down. Identity is the strongest force in the human personality. The strongest force in the human personality is the need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. That's all identity is how do you define yourself? Who do you believe you are and who do you believe you aren't? Many of us define ourselves, but we're not. I'm not one of those. That's one way. The other, this is who I am. So write it down. The strongest force in the human personality, in everybody's personality, is the need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. So if you define yourself in some negative terms, like let me give you an example. Let's say you really have this big goal and you're excited about it and you decide you're going to go for it. And then last minute you get scared. We all have fear. You're afraid of failing, afraid of being rejected, afraid of not looking good, afraid you're not enough, afraid you won't be loved, whatever the fear is. And so as a result of the fear, you pull back and you don't do it, you procrastinate. And then you get your passion up again and your determination and you say you're going to go for it. And last minute you get scared and pull back again. Well, after 4 or 5 times of this, you start to get pissed off at yourself and you don't want to feel that way. So guess what you do? You create an identity for yourself. I am a procrastinator. That's different than I procrastinated. How many raise your hand if you can tell the difference? I procrastinated versus I am a procrastinator. One is a momentary situation. The other is an identity. And once it's your identity, the strongest force in you is that you need to be consistent with your identity. See, if you don't know who you are, how can you decide what to do, what to be, what to create, what to give? When someone has an identity crisis, typically they say it happens for men around 40 years old or 45, and they suddenly change everything and question everything. It isn't just men. Everybody has identity questioning. In fact, I want you to know it's very natural to go a period of time. I'm going to make the time up. It's different for everyone. 7 years. And just a round, not really a round number, but a number I see quite a large number of people have the pattern. Somewhere around 5 to 10 years, but let's say 7 years, people commit to a way of being, a relationship, a certain way of being in their family, a business, a career. And then there's a point when people tend to question, is this really what I want? I've been doing this forever. Is this really it? And people think there's something wrong with them. No, it's part of the growth path. It just makes you question, but it also makes you uncertain. Like when you're questioning who you are and how you're living and what you're doing. And when people do this, they go through a period of questioning, and if they're smart, they commit to something. They either say, no, I love what I'm doing, and they recommit, and they go another 7 or 10 years, and they question again a little bit. It might be a shorter questioning, it might be more. Or they pick a new direction and go. That's part of expanding or shifting identity.